everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Osprey Observer TV. Your host, is always, Johnny Torres. Thank you so much for watching, listening, whenever, wherever you may be doing so. This podcast, of course, always bringing you the best and positive news from the Tampa Bay area, and today is no different because joining me, as always, Editor-in-Chief of the Osprey Observer, Marie Gilmore. Hey, Marie.
Hello. Good to see ya.
Same here. It's never a dull moment. There's always just amazing stuff happening in our community. And so who is this amazing person we're talking to today?
We have a great interview lined up today. It's actually been a year in the making. So this is a good friend of mine, Shannon Carlton. She actually used to be an advertising representative for the Osprey Observer back in the day, but now she is actually, I call her the founder and lead adventurer in Uprooted Adventures. This is a local business owner who had a successful business in the community, who raised her girls and became an empty nester, and who sold it all and hit the road for 12 months and is wrapping up a 12-month adventure across the United States. And I just have always wanted to have her on and hear about her adventures, how she did it, what exactly she did. Everybody has the dream of RVing for a year. She did a little bit differently. I'll let her explain to us how she did her 12-month adventure, and she'll be coming home soon. So Shannon, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to see you again.
You too, always. And where are you today? Where are we hailing from today?
I am in Colorado Springs today.
Oh, beautiful.
So it's absolutely gorgeous. I'm sorry to tell you, Florida people, it's like 70 degrees.
Oh, jealous.
Sunny. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your journey of sort of, doing that dream lifestyle of hitting the road and exactly what you did. Tell us about Uprooted Adventures.
Okay. So Uprooted Adventures is actually the name of my blog. It's kind of what I decided to do, right? So my youngest daughter was graduating from Bloomingdale High School, and we were part of the Carlton girls because it was just me and the girls for 12 years. And so it was the Carlton girls. So then the thought of her leaving me, it's now just the Carlton girl.
The girl. So what was I supposed to do? So I just kind of got lost for a little while. And then started hearing about people going on adventures and RVing. And so I looked into the RV situation, but I was going by myself. And I didn't want to be that far from communities and that far from people. And the whole idea for me was to get to know communities, to get to know other people in the country, and just see the country without being kind of burdened with this RV situation. So I really, really researched it a lot, and nobody was comfortable with it. Myself, my fiance, my friends, my family, they're like, we don't love this for you. And so then I thought, okay, well, what about Airbnbs? And if you do Airbnbs for 30 days at a time, it's a lot less expensive than doing, a couple weeks or whatever. Plus the fact all of my worldly belongings now fit into my Subaru, right? So I decided on 30-day Airbnbs so I could unpack, I could live in the community, I could be part of the community. I've done everything. I've taken yoga classes and, art classes and all this kind of stuff to just kind of get to know people, and just have met some amazing people on this journey. I've been to 12 different states in our nation, and they're just all so spectacularly different and beautiful. And I just came from South Dakota, and somebody was like, what the heck is in South Dakota? And I'm like, I was shocked because it's stunning. It's absolutely like the hikes there, and the scenery is just absolutely beautiful. Yeah,
so what is it that, sorry, go ahead,
sorry,
Marie.
Johnny. I kind of wonder, how do you feel 30 days worth of South Dakota, right?
Yeah. And I literally hiked every other day. So I've become, coming from Florida, there's not much hiking to do. So I love hiking. Like, it's just such a journey to climb up a mountain or a waterfall or whatever. And just to be a part of that, be part of nature. It's kind of like your meditation, right? But it's active, and it's just being present with everything that's around you.
And I'd love to
So,
piggyback on something you said, which was the fact that you actually spent an entire month in each of these locations that you visited, because I myself spent about 3 weeks down in South America in Cartagena, Colombia. And by the third week, you're looking at everything very differently. You feel much more comfortable and settled in, and you're like, okay, I could almost kind of live here. You feel like you're like, this seems very natural, very comfortable. If it's a beautiful place where you're having a lot of fun. And so I think that's a good message for people who are wanting to do this and not get like super stressed out about it, is really making that time to truly get to know a place. Because like I said, by the third week, fourth week, you're now looking for things to do that you probably wouldn't do in like a normal tourism kind of rush in a week or 2 weeks of being somewhere.
yep, definitely. Yep. And the people are just, I mean, you hear everything about people not getting along, but people love each other and they're so excited to talk to you and, have conversation. So I think that's one thing. It hasn't surprised me, but it's just been such a blessing to just be like, oh my, people like each other and they're good to each other. And they're and the communities are real communities and they really love each other. Just like we do in the Brandon area. Right.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned you're in Colorado. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I was in Livingston when they had the flood. So the Yellowstone River flooded while I was there, and Yellowstone goes straight through. The river goes straight through Livingston. So it flooded some areas there. And everybody came out to this one little central park. There's like 7,000 people in this town, so it's really small. But they came out to this one little park and they all got sandbags and put sandbags up along the river and they helped each other out. And it was so cool to be part of that without being, having it affect me, I guess.
So I lived for almost a year in northern Alabama. Okay. And when you're kind of, again, I'm a Florida boy, born in Miami, I've lived all over the state. And so definitely culture shock, right? Being in northern Alabama. What's kind of been like maybe one of the stranger things you've experienced or seen in your travels?
Well, I think the strangest thing I've seen is I went to this castle yesterday that this family built out of anger. So it's just like this really bizarre castle on the side of the road. And he's like, nobody can touch it. He's fought for it to stay standing. And it was just to kind of see his story and just how angry he was and just built this magnificent little castle on the side of the road was the weirdest thing I've seen on my travels by far.
So what's the biggest thing you've learned on this 12-month journey, Shannon? And what would you recommend to somebody who wants to do something like what you took on?
So I think the thing that I learned is because I'm basically uncomfortable all the time, not necessarily scared, but like, I don't know where I'm going. I don't know anybody here. My people are not here. I've got my dog. Like I was telling Marie this morning, I fell, busted my wrist, but it wasn't horrible, but I'm like, okay, I'm alone on a mountain, Yeah. So I think learning to be uncomfortable and getting through that on a daily basis is just it's so exciting. Like it's so much fun. Right. So probably that's been the biggest thing, is that you can be really afraid and really excited and happy at the same time. And the other part of it is, as far as doing this, I planned for probably a year and a half. I mean, this wasn't just like a spontaneous, like I'm out.
Okay.
It was a year and a half of how do I close up my house and my business and basically leave my life behind, what kind of car, like I researched that. So it was a lot. It was a year and a half of really researching, figuring out how to make all of this work. Getting my family comfortable with it. So yeah, but it just, you have to do it afraid, right?
I think, it's incredibly important, especially in kind of this big transition we're seeing in where a lot of people are working from home and can now work from anywhere. I think that makes an experience like yours very accessible, to to young professionals or even not young professionals of any kind who have that work from home opportunity to be able to maybe take on a traveling project like this, being a woman traveling on her own, what are maybe some of the tips that you would give, again, a young woman who may have that opportunity to travel and work at the same time, and maybe want to take on a similar trip like yours?
You're talking about as far as safety goes?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Those kind of things, what to prepare, how to protect yourself, how to make sure that, again, you're always kind of in the best situation possible.
So one of the things that I did before I left was I got an Ever plan, it's an online vault basically that has all of my information. It's got my attorney, my bank, so in case anything happens to me, my brother has access to it. So he can make sure everything's done the way that it needed to be done. So I set all that up before I went. The other thing is, I've got 2 people that know where I am at all times, right? They track me on my phone, so they know. And I've had a couple, like my best friend, she's like, hey, you were on this trail and you're supposed to be off by now. Are you alive? Like, what are we doing?
Did we fall and roll down the mountain? What happened?
Right. So I set that up, and I don't go out at night by myself. It's just something that I decided when I started. It just is not safe. So I go, like, if I go out to dinner or whatever, I go out at 5:00, come home early, and just make sure that I'm not putting myself in a situation that I can't contain.
Well, and for the last 12 months, Shannon, I've been following your socials and following all your pictures. You haven't been alone. You've had lots and lots of company, yes. lots of friends, family have been visiting you, love interests, which I know you're coming home for some good news, because in addition to having the adventure of a lifetime, you also had a life change and got engaged over this adventure, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so Larry completely surprised me. He proposed on top of Watchman Tower in Utah. It's in Mount Zion. And the way that he set everything up, I literally did not see it coming. I had absolutely no idea. So I turned around and he's on one knee, and I screamed, I think. And so I brought a couple of people back up to the mountain because they had left, and they're like, oh my God, what's going on?
Get back here. Right here.
So yes, it was so amazing.
Exciting.
Yeah.
So your next adventure is you're coming home, aren't you?
Yes. So I will be coming back to Dunedin for the rest of 2022 while we renovate a house. And then my next adventure is another marriage. This one's going to stick.
Well, congratulations. We're so excited that you're able to share a little bit about your journey. I can't believe it took 12 months of me thinking of wanting to interview you at the beginning of your journey, but you know what? We got you at the tail end, and I would love to hear even more when you get back. I'd love to get together, Shannon, and hear more stories about all of your adventures. And we should all be so fortunate as to see more of our country. I think the pandemic really made us realize we kept traveling to Europe and the Caribbean and cruising. We're like, wait, the United States has a lot to offer, a lot of national parks, a lot of hiking, a lot of mountains, a lot of beautiful sites that we just take for granted that are always going to be there for us. And I think this gave us a good reflection of, hey, don't wait, go do these trips.
It's just beautiful. I mean, really, this country is and we have everything. We've got desert and mountains and this shore and
and I've never been to Yellowstone, and then with the flood and everything, it's going to be backed up. So I better make a reservation for 3 years from now. But tell us how people can follow your journey, see more pictures, and learn a little bit more. How can they find out more, Shannon?
So uprootedadventures.us is my blog. And I really, especially if people are traveling to the locations that I've been, because, I've been there, I was there for a month. So I did find stuff that the normal person wouldn't find. So uprootedadventures.us. And then I'm on Facebook, Shannon Carlton FL. And Instagram, uprootedadventurer.mom.
Oh, very good. Well, I'll make sure I'm following all of those channels. Thank you so much for being our guest. Can't wait to have you back in Florida. And we're so glad you had such a great experience. And thank you for sharing and imparting some of that knowledge with us.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.